Hey, my name is Deborah Winters. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where you will hear conversations with ordinary people telling their extraordinary stories. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Their Stories. My guest today is Tim Waters, and he has an amazing story, and I'm going to try not to cry. So our location is a warehouse on a road that big trucks come by. So if you hear trucks in the background, just kind of overlook that, and we'll work with the sound of big trucks. So this is where Tim works. I want to say, give you a little backdrop. I met Tim in October, so it's been about 2 months. We go to the same church, Family Worship Center, and we do a woodwork class here, crafting class. I am not crafty, I am not creative, but he put online that we were going to do a fall for the wall or where you want to hang it. And I thought, I want to go do that. And so let me just take a little side note here. We have small groups at church. It's called the Collective, and one of the collectives is Tim's class. And so I showed up, and he made dinner that night. And so he prepares a meal every time he has a class. And it was chilly. It was chilly outside, and it was chilly in the crock pot. Was it the crock pot?
Slow cooker.
Slow cooker. And so it was delicious. I said, oh, this is so good. And so Tim does not know that I have conversations and record stories. And he began to tell me his story. And I'm standing listening to this crazy story. And I just started crying. I said, I got to tell you what I do. I record stories and I post them on YouTube. And I said, would you be willing to share? And he said, didn't you say? Yes, I would.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I would love to tell my story. So that's why we are here tonight, this afternoon, for Tim to share his amazing story. So, Tim, I'm not sure where we want to start, but you grew up in church.
I did.
You grew up in Family Worship Center. Did your mom take you to church?
Originally, me and my sister had went to church with our neighbors, and we came to Family Worship Center a couple times, and then we ultimately talked my mom into coming. Okay. At the time, she wasn't at all church. She wasn't into church, and she came, and it only took a couple times of Pastor Reggie before she was hooked, and we were all coming over and over and over 3 times a week. And then it got to where basically from 3rd grade to 8th grade is when I was there.
Okay. 5 years?
5 years.
Okay. So what happened? I mean, you were there, so then you left?
I got into high school is what happened.
Oh,
I chose,
okay.
Basically, I chose to impress others. Mm-hmm. I chose a behavior that was more appealing to my flesh than anything else.
Yeah.
And that was the worst thing I ever did. It just kind of went all downhill from there. But the Holy Spirit was established very strong when I was young. And after a good amount of years, that is the only thing that brought me back.
Yeah. So you stopped going to church, and you just all out for just doing whatever, just not living for the Lord, right?
I started partying.
Okay. So alcohol came in, drugs. So can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It started off with cigarettes, smoking pot, stuff like that, and then probably when I was 18, I started drinking, because I couldn't have pot anymore, and that is where addiction kind of took over. For the first couple years, it was. I've always been kind of an extremist in such things like that, which is a bad way to be, but I mean that's what happened. I kind of I got the first couple years, like most addictions, like the devil tries when he attacks us. It seems like something we get to do. It seems like something fun, something we enjoy. Part of also before I started drinking, I used to have real bad sleep problems, real bad like nightmares, demonic. I mean, I'd see them in my room and everything, and that's another reason why I started drinking is I also, because I was on multiple prescriptions when I was in high school.
Prescriptions for those nightmares?
Right. And 3 of them were from the shrink, and they couldn't figure out why? Because my childhood itself wasn't bad. Like I didn't have.
So did you grow up with a mother and a father in your home?
Not necessarily. They were divorced when I was 5, but my dad's always been around.
Always in your life, okay.
So everything that I ended up getting into was because I chose a wrong path.
You made bad choices.
Very bad choices.
Okay.
More or less to impress others, to hang out with people I thought was cool and so forth, and so I was more so doing what they were doing. But drinking also was a way of helping me coping with nightmares and stuff like that.
And so you were mixing those drugs, the medications from the doctor with alcohol?
Not at all. Actually, because of the alcohol, I no longer felt like I needed the prescription drugs.
Okay, all right. Okay.
And I didn't mix it because 3 of them were from the shrink. I mean, they couldn't figure it out. But I would see all kinds of stuff going up my walls. I mean, it was
really?
it didn't make sense.
Crazy.
It didn't make any sense at all. It was definitely stuff that was outside of just my dreams. I would see it in my room. But anyways, so that was another part of drinking. When I was talking about it, became something I had to do because I noticed that whenever I originally started off drinking to have fun, I noticed how that's also how I slept. I also had real bad anxiety problems. I had a lot of things going on in my head, and it's just drinking at the time would always dull it. It would numb it.
Yeah.
And then it just became a lifestyle. Just like any other addiction or anything that you use to kind of numb the world, you want it. Just to make the world not so quiet or not so loud.
So, how long did that go on? Because things got worse. So, how long were you in that party lifestyle?
Probably for the first maybe 5 years, it was for probably first 7 years, it was like partying. After that, it wasn't necessarily partying. It was just trying to survive, really.
So, were you still living with your mom?
I wasn't.
Okay.
I moved out when I was 18. I went back because I went and got married.
Wow.
I went and traveled the country for 5 years.
Traveled the country? Okay.
I had a job from 18 till about 23 of traveling the country. And then I got married to a girl who was chasing me from high school for a while.
A girl was chasing him. Okay.
You don't sound too surprised.
Go ahead.
Well, so I finally, she finally told me, do something or I'm going to,
I'm out of here.
I'm going to keep chasing you. So we ended up getting married. We had a baby, but the drinking was still heavy. I don't remember a lot of my marriage. It was just unhealthy.
Yeah.
No relationship that has to compete with an addiction is ever going to be strong.
Right.
It don't work that way.
So how long did the marriage last?
I don't know.
Was that whole thing a blur?
A couple years. I kept getting incarcerated for.
You did?
Domestic violence.
No way. Are you serious?
Just stuff that I would vaguely remember it the next day, and she would drink and I would drink, and so now it's and I've actually been single for 13 years. So after I got divorced, I didn't get back into a relationship. Then it was just me and my addiction. Now, I had my daughter, but as much as I love my daughter and as much as I got her and as close as we were, there was always a boundary. I could never get as close to her as I needed to be as long as my addiction, the addiction was first.
Right.
And so that went on for a long time. I was a liability at work. I didn't keep a job. I mean, I was, put the addiction first. Drinking. Didn't matter where I was at. Didn't matter how life looked, how difficult it got, how, I was unable to provide for my daughter. None of that stuff mattered. I only cared about myself and the addiction. It was just, it's very selfish. Addiction itself is actually selfish. It's whenever you care more about, actually hurting yourself. At the time, you might know you're hurting yourself, but it's feeding the flesh. I mean, it's bondage.
Yeah.
And majority of the time, we hurt the people around us way more than we hurt ourselves.
Right.
And that's the most selfish part about it. Mm-hmm. So this kept going on. Right now I'm probably 26, 27. And then I start and it's nothing's changing. Nothing. I still ain't got no job. I'm still bouncing between my mom's house or my dad's house. Everything's not working. So I started hurting inside, and because of how old I was, I didn't really think it was what it ultimately became. But for a couple of years, I was hurting, and then I got getting worse and worse and worse. And what I was doing, I was hurt. I was basically started destroying my pancreas.
Wow.
Which is it's a very painful, very, very, very painful thing to mess up.
So you live with pain. And
Not no more.
But you did.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And the more you drank, the worse it was.
Oh, it got bad. I started. You don't get a new pancreas. Once that's done, you're done. It's so it started getting covered up with cyst, and it started cyst, and it got to where I started going to the ER like once a month, and I'd be there for like. No, well, it started off maybe once every 3 months, then every 2 months, and every month, and I would be there for like 5-6 days at a time. But it would hurt so bad that it just assumed jump in front of a bus. To make it stop hurting.
Yeah.
It'd go in there, and it was just. But I still wouldn't quit drinking.
And they told you gotta stop drinking. This is what's happening.
They told me I was just stupid.
Really?
Because it's intentionally killing yourself. That you don't get much dumber than that. Knowing what's causing the pain, and even though I felt the physical part of it, my family was taking I think the family was taking the biggest hit, especially my daughter.
Yeah.
She didn't understand.
Right.
She just didn't understand. It's hard for anybody to understand why you do this to yourself, and more so for your family.
Right.
So that kept on and kept on and kept on, and I wouldn't quit. I just for no reason I just wouldn't quit. And then my liver started to go.
Your liver.
And then I started swelling up. Like I was skinny as a toothpick because of how sick I was, all the poison. But it looked like I had a beach ball in my shirt. Like it was just, it was bad. And then it started turning jaundice. And see, when I was 18, and I started drinking heavy, people told me that you keep drinking like that, you're gonna get cirrhosis.
Okay.
All right, and I said when I was 18, well, when I get cirrhosis, I'll quit drinking. It's so dumb to say that. It's so dumb, but I was very naive.
Yeah.
So I kept and it started to spread everywhere. But I kept my word. And when they diagnosed me with, by that time though, I done had several surgeries on my pancreas. I done had.
Wow.
Multiple.
What were they doing? Removing cysts?
They were putting stents in the tube from the pancreas to your stomach that allows the insulin and stuff to travel, because it was getting clogged because all the cyst was making it swell up and swell shut. And
they kept doing that, and you kept drinking?
Kept drinking. Kept drinking.
Okay.
It was definitely bondage. I didn't even, it almost didn't feel like an option of quitting, because then it's just like, what am I supposed to do sober? How am I supposed to handle? How am I supposed to handle all this, everything that's going on up here sober? How could I dull it and make anxiety, dreams, just all that stuff? And so it was just sometimes an addiction or destructive lifestyle. It's easier to keep that than to actually try and change and do something better, because this is what we know. This hurts, but it's what we know.
Right.
And it actually takes more courage and more strength to go to
the unknown.
And the thing is that's the mindset of somebody who's not walking with the Lord, because we know that it's not our strength that allows us to be able to leave that kind of bondage and chains behind.
That's good.
So now
cirrhosis of the liver.
So I quit drinking.
You did?
I finally quit.
Just cold turkey?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't have a choice. It was basically cold turkey, but I was 2 weeks in the hospital, so that kind of gave me a little 2-week window of detoxing and stuff like that. But after that, it felt like cold turkey, because then everything that I had tried to suppress over the years came back with a vengeance.
Wow.
It was just demonic. It was just horrible. I cried every day. I mean, especially when I saw my daughter, I would just bawl. I'd bawl like a baby. I mean, like, what was I thinking? I almost took her dad away from her, you know? It's just like, it don't make sense, you know? Like, I can smile about it now because the devil lost. But at the time, it was so bad. So
where were you living then?
at the time, I was living at my dad's.
Okay.
And
Did you have a job?
Oh, no, I was on disability through the state of Florida.
Really?
Pain-induced anxiety, and because of how sick I was, they gave me disability hands down. They signed it
Full
blindfolded.
disability?
Was.
Wow. Okay.
I was sick. And
Okay.
but see,
Whew, this is crazy.
I wasn't out the door yet. I
know. There's more. Go ahead.
I wasn't on the way to recovery yet.
There's more to the story. So why don't we take a break here, and we'll pick up with the second part of the story because, yeah, there's more to come. So thank you for sharing and stopping in and sharing this story with us. And there's more. But the ultimate message is there's hope, and we win through Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So come back next week for part 2 of Tim's story. Yes.